Awesome, guys. Welcome to the WIFFY podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Leah Castro in the house. Give it up for Leah Castro, ladies and gentlemen.
Hoorah.
Hoorah. We're going to talk about the hoorah later, Leah, for sure. But before we get going, I'm going to do my AI introduction that ChatGPT does for all my guests.
Okay.
So here we go. It says, meet Leah Castro, Boston born, now living strong in Surprise, Arizona. She's a powerhouse behind at Stylist 24, blending beauty and strength with every style. When she's not behind the chair, she's training hard and staying sharp, inside and out. Hoorah! Leah, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the WIFFY podcast. How we met and why you're here, I think it's a very interesting story for our audience to hear, man. So we met at your place of work, right?
Yes.
Or it was your place of work. We just talked about that. It's no longer. But what's the name of the restaurant?
It was First Watch.
First Watch and Surprise. So my wife and I, we went to breakfast and we hadn't launched the podcast just yet. And we get sit down and at our table, and then Leah comes up and she was our server. But she had such a cool vibe and she looked like she trained, man, and she had an interesting story, man. So I was like, hey, Leah, would you ever consider coming on the WIFFY podcast? And at the time, we hadn't even started yet, so it wasn't like a thing, you know? And she kindly looked at me and she was like, man, this fluffy guy probably looks, not harmful at all. So sure, I'll go I'll go on the pod.
I'll come by.
Yeah, he looks harmless. I could take him.
I got this guy if anything goes left.
Yeah, for sure. Leah, so you're a very interesting person. You have a unique, I guess, hobby is what you can say, but really a profession because you do it continually and, you compete. And then also you're an entrepreneur. You've owned your own business. You've owned your own, is it salon or saloon?
Salon. Hair salon.
So just for me, just so I know in the future, saloon and salon are two different things? Like,
I feel like a saloon is like something from long years ago where a guy would walk in and slam the doors and get a beer at the bar, where
I see.
a salon is definitely more, walk in for your appointment, get your haircut or get your color. So I feel like they are two different things, but I have seen names for both. But definitely I think salon is one, saloon is let's go get a beer.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for clearing that up for me because sometimes I get a little confused, Yeah. Maybe that's just Latino in me, man. I don't know the words, but the difference. But anyways, Leah, we always start the podcast with what is your story? Where do you come from? Where you are and where you're going? Tell us about your life. Start in Boston. Like, did you grow up in Boston, or what does that look like?
Okay, yeah. So if you got a couple days, then I can tell my story. No.
We got an hour and 45. No, I'm kidding.
So I actually grew up in Massachusetts my whole life, all the way till I was 39. And I have 3 children. So my husband is from Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm from north of Boston. They call them the North Shore people. They cross that border where they're on the water closer to New Hampshire. So I met my husband and I grew up there, and a long time I knew I would move at some point to someplace warm, but I didn't really know where. I do have a little bit of family here, and so it made sense for us to go to a place, migrated where the family was. And I just said, I'm going to get there. I don't know when, but I'm going to get there. And a lot of really good opportunities came up as I was going through my years of doing hair, which is obviously the primary focus. And I kind of kept holding me back another step, and then I would have a kid, and then you're with around family, so those things kind of get pushed back, and I'm like, I'm still gonna get there someday. I don't know when, but I'm gonna get there. So then just a lot of, like I said, a lot of good opportunities came up, and then I've worked kind of in almost all aspects of the industry, from actually a brand new stylist all the way to training people, then branching off and working for corporate companies, and then after that gaining all that experience and then finally saying, okay, I'm going to open
Starting
a
your own
salon.
business.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, let's take it back real quick. So you grew up in Boston. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Triton Regional High School.
Triton Regional High School. How many people were in your class?
I don't know, like a couple hundred.
Couple hundred? Was it a big
Yeah.
high school or no?
No, it was probably on the smaller side. I mean, it wasn't small, but it wasn't big. It was probably like maybe 200 to 300 kids in my class.
In high school, were you an athlete or no?
Yes, I was a figure skater.
No
then
way.
I used to travel the country,
Get out.
and that was like my little love that I had from when I was growing up. And I was a pretty straight A. Like, I followed the rules because it's an expensive sport. So then I also ran track, and
Okay.
which kind of like I was always doing athletic stuff in school, but
Were you strength training at that time or no?
no, that came when I met my husband, when I learned how to actually like work out and lift. He taught me a lot of stuff as well.
Cool.
So
I don't know your husband, but I've seen him on your Instagram. Looks like a pretty mean dude. Hoorah.
Yeah, he's actually a super nice guy. He's very laid back. He's very cool. He's very nice, but he looks intimidating.
Yeah, he looks mean. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks a little mean. I'm like, hey, can you stop doing this? And he'll be like, I don't even know I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mean to, but
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I was just teasing. But cool beans, man. So then you get out of high school. In our previous conversation, you were sharing that you had a kid. So tell us about that.
Well, my senior year, I ended up having a baby, and so my figure skating career came to a halt, and basically, I had to grow up really quickly. And that's hard to kind of blend different cultures, family, being young, people trying to be like, do this, do that. And ultimately, I really had to let my family help me so I could pursue going to school. And I knew that I probably wasn't going to figure skate after that. I was being realistic, and I really loved doing hair. I knew that as a young kid, at maybe like 15, even younger, that I was going to do hair. I just would always be looking at everybody's hair. And then,
Hey, so let me ask you something real quick. So like during this time you're in high school, you're pursuing are you pursuing a career, or you're just doing it for fun, the figure skating?
no, I did it knowing that
Pretty
probably
seriously?
it would, I did it seriously. And then we were competitive all across the country. So we were on a team. And then when you get pregnant,
Right.
that team, that you can't do it any longer. So
So this cat, that came along, was he from your high school or?
no, he was from a completely different town.
No way.
Yep. Nobody knew about him. They were like, what is happening?
Yeah, like out of the blue.
Because I got along with everybody. I was athletic, so I always played sports. I could talk to anybody in high school, and I got along with everyone. I never had enemies. And then all of a sudden it was like, you were dating a guy this whole time? And I was like, yeah, that didn't work. I almost said work here. That didn't go to school here. And he came to my proms, and we were together for 3 years. But
No way.
it just, when you're young,
Yeah,
it's
I
hard.
hear you. I hear you.
I was 18 years old. So
Hey, so how'd you meet this guy?
I met him through a friend that lived down the street. So we met just in kind of a central location of hanging out. And he kind of pursued me. And then I was like, yeah, like, he doesn't go to my high school, but probably make this work. And so it was hard because I was kind of like this white girl growing up in a very like white area. And he was Dominican, Spanish.
Dominicano.
Gay little Kate. That, it didn't really mix. Like everyone would be like, how are you with this guy? But he had a great family.
Did he speak English and stuff? I mean, he was American?
Yeah, he was. Yep. He just didn't, he was young too, and he just couldn't really hold it together. He just was sort of going in every different direction except, what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So I just had to cut that tie.
Tell me about what an incredible shift, man, in your story. So you're going through high school, you're athletic, you're pursuing a career in figure skating, so to speak, and man, your life changes. Tell me about the home life during this time, man. Like, what did your parents say?
My mom had this intuition, like she knew before I told her. All of a sudden, she was like, "You're pregnant." And
Nah.
because I trained so much in high school, just for like I would do like camps, athletic camps, and things like that, and I came home and I would instantly fall asleep, and I'd be like, "Oh, my back hurts," and she would be like, "Interesting, your back hurts."
Yeah. Ooh, your mom, dude.
So, and she was like that Catholic, that
Yeah.
old school Catholic of guilt. And she just knew it. And she was right. But she did the one thing, she was a little hard on me, but the one thing that helped me was she was like, "You're going to raise this baby and we'll help you the best we can. But you need to, this is now a focus for you and a turning point." And I do think it was really difficult.
10-4, man.
I recommend waiting,
Yes.
but doing it and the time is right. So that's why I didn't have other or more kids till I got married and a little bit later in life. So my, I would say it was.
Did they know you were dating this guy or no?
They did, but they didn't make it easy. So I think that was part of it. I think if they let him come around a little bit more and have that connection, I feel like it would have went better. And so if that ever happens, I want to do it differently for my kids. I want to guide them in the right direction, but definitely I don't want to chokehold them with a noose around their neck. And I always did everything right. So it was just like, I kind of got a lot of guilt for a long time. Just like, this is your baby, you have to deal with it and you have to grow up. And so I always was, my parents were super hard workers. They were workhorses. And I feel like me, my brother, my sister are all like that. So didn't have like the craziest, I didn't go to Harvard or anything like that, but I definitely learned a good work ethic.
Yeah, I went to the school of hard knocks too, man. Life. Woo! Man, like I said, we just launched the episode with my wife, and we share our story there, and I can relate. She didn't get pregnant before we got married, but we got married super young, like super young.
Wait,
and
how old? How old is
so I mean, I was 22.
Okay.
She was 23, and we had she got pregnant 3 months after we got married. So like the honeymoon phase, and the getting married part for me wasn't the hard part. Like I really enjoyed that, and my wife was my best friend, man. So I enjoyed like hanging out with her and stuff and having fun.
She still likes you?
I think so. But the having kids, man, it just brought pressure. And I went from being a boy to a man like overnight, and really that was just, that was like the icing on the cake. But we had some rough times, like even as boyfriend and girlfriend with her family. And so out of the blue, it first started, and then it kind of progressed from there. Things got crazy up until like the day of the wedding and stuff. It was like a TV novella. You know what I'm saying?
Wild times.
Yeah. But anyways, we got married, and through his grace, man, because we're still here.
Yeah. And I always think like, how would my life been different if he stayed with me and we worked through it? Would we still be together? Because I feel like that was God's way to like give me something to kind of like, this is your hard lesson. And, but he's a great kid now. And I really I love him so much. He's 23 now and he doesn't live here. He lives in Massachusetts. He's in, electrical. He works in the electrical union.
Yeah,
there.
it's a great job, man.
So he's going to have a great job. He's got a wonderful girlfriend. They live together. They're doing really good. And, we FaceTime a lot. He will come and visit, and we see them when we see him when we go back. So he's just growing up like a little champ.
Good for him. Good example, man, for sure.
Thank you. It's funny. He was never into, I tried getting him into the CrossFit. I've been doing CrossFit since 2015, and I thought he would like get into the gym, and he was very naturally athletic. And to a fault, he didn't have to work that hard when he was doing sports when he was younger. So, cause he just naturally fell into everything. He was always like really good at everything that he did. But he never really got into the gym, and I'm always riding him like, Nate, you know how fit you would look if you just, like
Yeah,
you went to
yeah.
the gym. He's like, I got a girl mom now. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
doesn't mean you got to like, you can't
Let go.
tighten up.
You gotta tighten up.
Tighten up a little bit.
It's funny you say that because my buddy was giving me a hard time speaking of marriage and stuff like that. He's like, "Man, dude, what is Rosita thing?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, she bought a certain product and she got another product later." He was telling me, he's like, "You're like those little like rags that come like compressed into a little square and then you put water and they go poof." I was like, dude, forget you, man. Get out of here.
You ain't my friend.
Yeah, you're my friend, homie. No, but yeah, so cool, interesting. Real quick, and then we'll move on from that topic. I just want to touch on one more thing. During that time, you find out you're pregnant and you're living the life that you're living. I'm assuming obviously that wasn't in your foresight, right? How did you feel? Like, and then how did you feel initially? But then also, how did you feel later? As far as like, man, like, did you feel like my dreams are over, or like, what were the emotions that were boiling up in you during that time?
Definitely in the beginning, I almost didn't believe it. I was like, what? Oh my God. Like, honestly, I wasn't really educated as, like, I feel like my mom could have really helped me out if she would have said, hey, like, let me teach you how to, like, navigate
Right.
having sex. And
Right.
instead of saying, well, you shouldn't be doing that. So, and then that wouldn't happen. It's like, yeah, but, and I know it sounds like naive, but I really was very naive at that time. I feel like I was definitely in shock because I played sports. I was always so active. I was like, crap, that's going to stop. So then at the time when I was with his dad, he was very encouraging. He was like, yeah, everything is going to be fine. And he had a great family and I really appreciated them. And like, there were cultural differences, but I lived at home and he lived where he lived, and he did want me to move in. And my mom was just like, just do me one thing, like don't move out, like let us help you. So that was like the one thing that she was more positive about. But other than that, like I knew that my figure skating came to a quick halt because obviously like it's too dangerous at that point, but I wasn't sure. I just had a feeling like this is going to be over. But after that,
Not necessarily.
it was like I just had to kind of navigate differently.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you felt that with the figure skating, but like as far as like the future was concerned, did you feel pretty grim about it, or how were you feeling about it, or were you pretty optimistic? Like, no, we got this, man.
I definitely tried to have a good attitude. I think once I cut the ties and I knew that relationship was over and I was past it, and I met other people, I never introduced anybody. I kept that very private. I mean, people would know that I use that term loosely. I never really started dating anyone again until my son was, it's hard to do that alone when they're not sleeping at night and you're exhausted. And
Right.
I moved out at one point and I was working, 2 jobs, and I was training to become a brand new stylist. And I knew the day that I walked through the door with the lady that trained me in the beginning of my career, I said like 6 months, I will be on the floor making money with no doubt in my mind. That was one thing that I knew, is once I got past the fact that, that sport was going to stop, and it wasn't over. Once in a while I would skate, but competitively that was done because, you're not there a lot and you needed someone to take care of this baby while you go and figure skate. But I definitely said, okay, now here's what I want to get into. Now my next thing is, I knew I wanted to do hair. I kind of dove right in and I went full time. And it was very difficult just staying on time to like pick him up, drop him off. He was sick or crying. It was those times were the hardest times when they're young.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I just want to give you your flowers because I admire single moms, and at that time you were a single mom. And I always tell my wife, like, dude, we struggle and we're a team. And when I hear stories about single moms and stuff like that, I'm like, man, dude, it's just incredible. It's amazing. Women are resilient, dude. You know what I'm saying? And when push comes to shove, not only are you guys resilient, you guys are strong, but you guys find a way.
You just do it.
You just do it. You
and
know.
I didn't have financial help. So a lot of people are like, oh, you grew up in a nice neighborhood, you must have done really well. And I had some people in high school say some really mean things like, well, why don't you tell your parents that you had a miscarriage and go get an abortion and save yourself like the headache of going through it. But I just couldn't live with that in my head. It would really have eaten me away if I had done something like that. But I'll never forget that day that someone said that to me, and I was just like, I wouldn't do that. No, I can't do that. But I very gently, waited till my son was old enough to, just sleep a little bit through the night. So I didn't go on a date looking like a Shrek. And
Right.
I dated a couple of people, but nobody ever met my son until it was, the right time or enough time had gone by. But really only one person before my husband. And
The question crossed my mind, but I wasn't going to ask out of respect. You never know, how people will respond, but you touched on it, man. And I just want to commend you for that as well. Because people are going to watch this and they're going to see this and they're going to know that even though it was hard and it rocked your world, you made the choice to, see it through, and, unfortunately we live in a world, without getting too deep into it, man, where like they seem to push one option, but there's always more than just that option,
Yeah.
And I'm sure that when you see your son today and you see him thriving, you're like, hoorah, baby.
He's not that bad,
Yeah.
He was very respectful, and thank God for my husband because he came a little bit later, but for about 8 years I was a single mom, and I knew in the back of my head I can't just have anybody meeting him. Plus I was busy. I would work and I wanted to live on my own and have my own space and I wanted to do the best for him, not to be like, I need to be this hero, but I wanted to have independence as well because
Right.
I can't live with my parents forever.
Right.
And I also am not an excuse maker. If somebody needs something from me or like which he did, that's mine. And now I
Right.
got to take care of it. So
Good for you. Good for you. And you know what? Yeah, I mean, from the first day I met you, you just communicated this vibe of like, she gets the job done, dude. You know what I'm saying? And so, could totally see that, And you know, what's one interesting fact, which I want to talk about a little later, but like, I find that people that train that are like physically fit and stuff like that, for the most part, are pretty disciplined in other areas of life, not just in that, And so that's definitely one thing that I'm trying to change in my life right now. And I'll share something with you right now when we get to that topic. But first,
I believe in you.
thank you. But first, cool. So just moving on. So thank you for sharing that, man. That's pretty intimate, man. So I appreciate that, and know that what you said will help people, and that's one of the reasons why I like interviewing interesting people is because I believe that your story is powerful. I mean, not just yours, but in general, our story is powerful. And when we share that, man, and other people who are going through the same thing that we're going through hear it, man, it could potentially change their life, So thank you for giving us an insight into that, man. But moving on from that, like you said, you were a single mom for 8 years. You meet your hubby. Where'd you meet your hubby?
I met my husband through my oldest, my son.
No way.
So he played Pop Warner football.
Okay.
And the coach of the team wanted to have them do some strength and conditioning. So he goes to this specific gym, and my husband was, that's his background is exercise science. So he had a 10,000 square foot gym that he was managing. And the coach said, hey, can you take this group of kids? And he's like, well, I mostly work with like Division I athletes. That's not really my age group because he was really busy. He was a football player in college. So that was more his age group, was the older kids. And the guy was like, all right, well, if you don't do it, we'll go somewhere else, because they wanted him. So I think they broke him down a little bit, and he ended up taking them on. So my son had been going to that strength and conditioning program since he had been 7 to 9. So I had actually knew of him for 2 years, and I used to go in and be like, damn, he's cute. Like, this guy has got to be taken. I was like, someone's got his kid, or he's married, or he's probably like in this crazy, like, good relationship or whatever. And he was extremely professional and a little bit standoffish because after later on down the road, he used to tell me stories about people that would like hit on him at the gym.
All the moms?
All the moms, yes. They just loved him. And all the kids loved him too because he had hops. Like he was very athletic.
Yeah.
And I was like, this guy's for sure taken.
He was a cool dude on campus,
He
man.
was cool. He was hot. He was in shape. And I was like, he's definitely taken. And my cousin was like, Leah, you've been saying this for at least a year and a half since you've brought your son there, because we would take him to the strength and conditioning. She's like, I got an idea. She's like, I have season tickets to the Patriots game. And she's like,
Patriots fans, huh?
hey, 20 years. We had a good run for 20 years. So she's like, invite him to the game. I have the tickets. And, you know, the most he can do is say no. And I email him and I was like, hey, this is Nathan's mom. Like, would you like to come to a Patriots game with me? And I was like, he can't say no. I know he's gonna. I knew he played football because you know the kids learn about him, and they had been going there for a while. And I get no answer, crickets. So I'm like, all right, you can't even just say no, like, lady, don't, nothing on the computer. And so I email him, and she's like, all right, let a day go by, and I get nothing. And then she's like, email him again. In that time, we didn't have, Instagram. So she's like, email him again and just be like, oh, hey, like, if you don't want the ticket, we can sell it or we can get rid of it. And he emailed back and he's like, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go. I was trying to get coverage for work. And I was like, bro, you think you left me hanging for like 3 days.
Right, dang,
you could have said.
Bro had game, man. He was like, it's just another Tuesday.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I was planning on going. And I was like, could have said something, anything like, yeah, let me check if I can get work off or something. So at the whole time I was sweating it out. Like, this guy thinks I'm in crazy pants, but he ended up coming to the game and we just started very, very slowly. And I was like, I'm definitely going to this is going to be my relationship. And, I just knew that he was so polite. He came from similar family. He's Colombian, 100%.
Okay.
And no, I don't have like a preference, but just like,
just saying.
fell into place.
Dang, girl.
So yeah. And that's how it all started. Was actually ended up meeting him through something.
Does he speak Spanish or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Full, very nice. Colombian they have beautiful speaking Spanish. So
yeah, for sure.
I just get like nervous around them because I'll know what they're saying, but then I'm like, wait, and then I answer and I don't want to like mess it all up.
Yeah.
So, but I try. I do my best.
Yeah.
And yes, so I ended up meeting him through my son, which is kind of crazy that he was doing the strength and conditioning. It was just me and him for so long, and then I met him.
Right on.
So there was like that full circle.
Yeah.
Right there.
And together you guys have kids, you said?
Yeah, we have 2.
2 kids.
There is an age gap. So we were together for about 4 years. We got engaged. And I was like, time is clicking.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
If you don't make something, like, what are we doing here? Are we making this happen? Are we starting a family? What are we doing? Because by this time, we met when we were 27. So by the time I had my son, I was 32. So, and then I had my daughter by the time I was 35. And we have a son and a daughter together. And, if the world wasn't as expensive as it is, I feel like we would have another one or 2 more. But he is the best dad anyone could ask for. He's extremely involved. I feel like God paid me back later tenfold. Patience.
Awesome.
And he's always, the one thing I love about him is he's like me, whether I was in the beginning when I really didn't know how to work out, and then being with me through having kids and, those weight changes and emotional changes, he's always been super supportive. He might look at me a little side eye when I opened a business, but like he for sure is a very supportive person.
Hey, so real quick, let's transition into the business part. So you're in Boston at this point. You're living in the city? Or no?
No, we lived outside of the city.
Cool. And then there is where you started your business.
Yes, the city that I grew up in. So I was working full time for a color company, and I said to him, like, if I don't do this and fulfill this here, I have 15 plus years at this point, or even more, of clientele that are pretty loyal. I didn't have anybody, I had nobody in mind except my cousin, that I was like, I really want to open this business and I need you to be there with me. And she was like, okay. And she was very easily followed me, and I tried to help her navigate with her career. And then at one point, this was before COVID, but I was working full time for a company, and I was like, okay, no bank would give me a loan, SBA loan, like a single small business loan.
Right.
And I was like, well, what's the point of this? How do you make this happen? So again, you know, I had a client, her husband, he said to me, like, my husband would train their kids and I would do her hair, and she was so nice. And he said, like, when I was younger, somebody gave me an opportunity and gave me some money towards a business. And so he loaned me the money for like
To start the business.
to start it out a little bit, and not fully, but like it was still a big help.
Right,
and
for
so he gave me like some electricians, some plumbers, and he was like, and I said, I'm going to pay you back. And so what I did was I worked a full-time job, and then I was building the salon in the meantime, kind of in the background, just like getting it going and thinking of ideas and like, how are we going to make this work? And then we got to the point where we couldn't even at one point take any more clients because everybody was fully booked, and the salon was really thriving. So it was very, very interesting, and it was fun and it was hard, but it was all happening at the right time.
How many years did you do it?
So I owned the salon for 7 years.
7 years.
And that only changed because I decided, like, if we don't go now and move, because I really did ultimately want to live in a warmer climate.
Right.
It wasn't going to happen. And everyone was like, you're crazy. Like, there's no way you're going to go there and be happy. Like, you might get the weather, but you're going to have a whole clientele here. You had a business here. So I've been in this industry for 23 years. And then throughout that time, been through corporate, been through like all the different aspects, and then opened the salon and had some really great people that worked with me, alongside of me. I hate saying for me, but like, they worked at the salon, and most of them were not new. They were stylists that I knew in the area for a long time, and they were all great, very talented women. And I just said, I know this sounds crazy, but I feel like we got to go, like, we got to move, and we moved someplace warmer with near family. And that's how we ended up here.
Interesting, man. Interesting.
So I gave up everything, like,
Yeah, that's
financial,
crazy.
like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we didn't have to, I worked really hard, but we didn't have to.
Did you ever consider leaving somebody in charge and like running the business, and you still kind of?
I did, but then, you know, a lawyer kind of advised me against that. He was like, if you want to sell it, you want to be done with the sale. If you want, like, you can do that, but if things don't work out, you're going to be flying back and forth, and you're going to be spending money doing that. And so I really felt like it needed to be left either in the hands of somebody that was really capable of handling it, or it would have to be dissolved. And so I kind of gave up everything to move and start over. And I feel like there are a lot of really great people here, but maybe someday it will happen again. I just have to build that up again and just kind of stay strong with meeting people, kind of hustling right now. Like, I kind of always find a way to grind it out no matter what I'm doing. So just try to stay disciplined.
Yeah, awesome, man. If you don't mind sharing, like, what was one of your most successful years while in business?
I would say, I'm trying to think of the year. Probably,
Was it kind of like the halfway mark, maybe?
I would say the first year is the hardest, because you don't have that flow, and you're like, okay, are people going to figure out that I have a business now? And social media was there, but like, it's not the way it is now. Now it's like driven by everything. You know, there's so many faster avenues of getting it out there. I think probably after like 2021, 2022, I was like, okay, we're flowing. I'm on my own. Like, I don't have the corporate anymore, because eventually they can't, you know, I couldn't do both. I would never be home, because I would work my full-time job, and then at night, after when I was done with that, I would go take clients at the salon. And then I just kept doing that process until one was outweighing the other.
Right.
And that was a little bit of a grind that first year. And then my cousin was with me, and then we got another girl, and then another girl, and then all of a sudden the chairs were full. And I was like, all right, we're going to be all right. And then I said to the company that I worked for, you know, my business is really growing, and I really want to put my whole heart into it. I don't want to be half in and half out. And I would say, like, we opened in 2016, and then the first couple years is definitely like having that patient time and really focusing on just kind of marketing and like talking to people constantly, just because there's salons that had been open for 20 years that are big in that town, and all of a sudden here we were like telling everybody, give us a Yelp review, like little things like that organically drove the business. And then all of a sudden it was like we didn't have space to take anybody anymore. Like everybody was just so booked. And that's when it kind of like really sprouted, was like 2021, even after COVID, like people were still hanging in strong with coming back in and supporting us.
So you became like a competitor to the bigger salons out there.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like we were physically smaller, but we definitely had like 5-star reviews. We had great clientele. We got just as competitive in a very quick, in a very fast way, you know, like we just were using our social media I had a girl come on and help me with that, and just how to like market your Instagram and do a better job. Like we were always kind of learning and trying to like find a way to do it organically. Cause in the beginning you don't have a ton of money for like this crazy marketing, or like, you know, we didn't have like an investor.
Right. So I hear you on that totally, because I have a few endeavors that I'm doing right now. And it's like, oh yeah, you know, I talked to some of the big fish and they're like, yeah, they just do some marketing, you know, a couple grand here. I'm like, what?
Just a couple thousand.
Yeah, bro. Like, bro, what you talking about, Willis? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. But definitely, I call it guerrilla marketing, man. Like that's what we're trying to do to promote our stuff. And so, but very organically, and then just kind of pushing it, you know, and not being relentless in that sense, but kind of compensating for the finances, you know?
Yeah, that's how I did it. So then the guy that gave me money, just backing up a little bit, but the guy that gave me money, I was like, I'm going to pay him back first, because even if I have to have a little debt in the beginning, like he did this massive favor for me. He didn't have to do that. And it wasn't all the money, but it was enough to help me. And every month I would give him money, and he'd be like, oh, you know, you don't have to do that right away. He owned a very, very flourishing business. He was in HVAC. And Peter, I love you. You and your family are the best. And 1 year I had him paid off. And he said, you know, like out of all the 30 plus years he had been in business with himself, he was like, no one's ever even paid us off that quickly. He was like, you were the first person I've ever helped out, because somebody did that for me when I was younger. And he's like, I knew your business was gonna take off and do really well. And he worked for major like grocery stores. Like he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You know what? Sometimes the man upstairs, man,
Yeah.
sends people like that along your path. And yeah, I've experienced that in my life too, man. Not just one individual, but a few individuals where I'm like, man, and at different times, different seasons, you know, and but yeah, cool beans, man. Transitioning to your training. So tell us about that. So you train, you strength train. You said you've been part of, is it the Ironman or?
No, CrossFit.
CrossFit.
Yeah. So I've been doing CrossFit since 2015, and competitively, I would say after 2021, I had my daughter in 2019, and I was like, okay, now I can really focus. And like, there's this saying that women that turn 39, 40 years old, like they tend to get in the best shape of their life. And I was like, yeah, because they're sleeping. They're not trying to like handle these babies that are, you know, from 30 to 37, where you're like still having kids, you know, like, and it's really true. Like there's women into my division, because I compete in my division, and some of the, in just like local stuff, but like some of these women, they're just crazy strong, and they just have more time because they're getting better sleep, and they're able to, you know, navigate their diet better and just be a little bit more focused, because their kids are a little bit more grown up by that time. And I really have seen that, and I feel like it's true. But I just, so 2015, I saw it actually before that. I saw it on TV, and CrossFit was, you know, it wasn't what it is now. Like obviously the social media, but my husband was like, you're not going to do that. You're going to get hurt. Like I strength trained with him. He did a lot of, he did a few strongman competitions. So I really enjoyed like watching him, and I was like, oh my God, it must make you feel like you're playing a sport again. And he really liked it, and he did. And I was like, I know that I would love CrossFit. Like, I need to try it. And then a friend of mine, her husband did it at a gym, and he invited me and he was like, hey, you should come. Like, I feel like you would really love it. Like, you went to high school with my wife. Like, you both are super athletic. So he's like, you would like it. And that's why I went, and I never looked back, and I always like fell in love. But in the beginning, you know, I was like not as fit, and I didn't really know much about it. I didn't even think about maybe someday I'll coach. I just started to like gradually fall in love with it, and it felt like it was a healthy thing. It kept my, like, it's good for my mind. You know, the fitness part of it was everything, but it takes years to get good at it. It's nothing that comes overnight unless you are a supernatural athlete. So,
Right. Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of in a health journey myself right now. I shouldn't say journey because I guess I could say that. But
I'm here
long
for
story
it.
short, yeah.
I'm gonna
yeah.
come interview when
Cool. On
when
your
you get-
podcast.
yeah, I'm gonna.
Hey, so growing up, I wasn't always chubby. You know, I was never like. It's funny because like my weight fluctuated, but I have pictures and I show my kids. I have this one specific picture where I'm like super thin, like my son, and because
Jacked.
they don't believe me because they're like, oh, Dad, you couldn't have been that small, you know. And I show my son, I'm like, he's like, Dad, that's like the one picture, and then after that, they're all fluffy. But then, but in high school, you know, when I met my wife and stuff like that, I was probably 190, you know, 195. So I looked good. I felt good. It wasn't until after I got married that I gained the weight. And I honestly gained about 150 pounds in, not blaming my wife, but, you know, I probably gained 150 pounds in 2 years. But for me, part of my story is like, I wasn't ready for marriage, man, honestly. And then all the pressures that came with it. I was living the dream, man. I was a musician. I was touring. I was traveling. Like, I was having fun. You know what I'm saying? And I was barely coming out of my cocoon, you know, and then boom, I get married. You know what I'm saying? And so, and at home, you know, the funny thing is my mom, she's born in Mexico, you know, came over, became a citizen, but I have to say that 3 meals a day, like big meals, you know, but real food, you know, like chicken and like lettuce or whatever, you know. And I get married and my
Grass.
wife, grass. And I get married and my wife, she doesn't like the kitchen. You know what I'm saying? So we started eating out, you know, all the time. And then we got pregnant right off the bat. And so literally I remember like going to Jack in the Box like at 12 at night or whatever, whenever she would get the munchies, you know? So she was like, dude, we both got pregnant at the same time. I just gave birth and you never did. But it was partly that. And then it was a shift in my diet. You know, I went from eating real food, not really having to worry about it because my mom took care of it, to like now, you know, life is different, you know? But then also I was going through like a depression, you know, during that time because I just, like I said, you know, I don't want to sound like that guy, but I was just like, man, what did I do? You know, and I was like mourning that life that I had, you know. And so for 2 years, I was just like, man, and I had jobs. My wife stayed home during that time, you know. When she got pregnant, I was like, you know what, you can stay home. But I had jobs that I didn't really want. I just had to have because obviously I had to provide. And so, and the more time passed, the more I became depressed because I was like, especially in the music scene, it's like, you know, the younger you are, the better. You know, the older you start getting, it's like that train is leaving, you know? And so,
Never say
like,
never.
Never say never. And you're like Justin Bieber. But nowadays, you know, my ambitions, my dreams are different, I would say. But going back to my my health journey, man, like so I mean, yeah, so I'm trying to lose weight. On the 6th, I'm scheduled for surgery, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind?
So I'm having bariatric surgery
Okay.
on the 6th of August. So I've been in the program for 6 months at Mayo Clinic. And so honestly, I was that guy that I was like, dude, I can do it on my own. Like I would like give a hard time to my friends who did it or whatever, you know? And then I'm at the point in my life where I'm like the heaviest I've ever been. My body hurts. I don't have the energy. You know, I can't be standing up for long periods of time because my feet will kill me, man. And the funny thing is that I'm a very active person. I'm a very driven person. I'm doing a lot of things right now. But this is the one thing that has become my Achilles heel, you know? I'm very confident. It hasn't really hurt my confidence. which is a good and a bad thing. A good thing in the sense that I walk into the boardroom, so to speak, and I'm confident, you know. But my confidence has kept me from losing the weight because it's like I don't need it for my confidence. So it's like, what do I need to lose weight for? You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of like an oxymoron. One of the businesses that I currently own and that is actually producing for us is Rumbic. So I own a company called Rumbic, RUMBIC. I took the word running and bicycle and I combined them and I generated the name Rumbic, which is trademarked, by the way. And
Nobody steal that.
yeah, nobody steal that. But the reason why I did that was because of my son Ezra. He's super athletic and he's like, I got a 6-pack and like, he's super, self-motivated and determined and like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking out right now. But anyways, like he's a kid that will choose water instead of soda. And like he'll eat the salads and like he'll go run and he runs and we've paid for him to run all over town and stuff like that. That's how we got into the business. But he plays football. I just bought him a helmet today and he's starting, football. He's
How old is he?
He's 11 years old.
Oh, okay. Little athlete
For sure. And he plays football. He's starting to like baseball. But definitely more on the football side, and he likes to run. And so, like I said, we used to pay for him to run. So one of those days that we went to one of the events, he won first place for the 5K, and we were waiting for him to get the first place medal or the second finisher medal, excuse me. And we were standing there, and then his friend's dad was there because his friend participated too, and you could tell that this organization had gotten comfortable because like we had been to a couple of their events and they generated about 700 runners, 700 athletes coming out to all of their events. And it was very low budget. Like you could tell, like no effort. They just knew people were going to come and run because they'd put on like fun runs, And so the production sucked and stuff like that. And so we're standing there, we're just waiting for him to get the second medal. And then his friend's dad turns over and looks at me. He's like, "Hey, Wiff, you could probably do this 1,000 times better." And at the time I owned a food truck and I was like, he struck a chord with me. And I had already started paying attention to the business model because I'm like a small business guy. So I'm always looking, And I was like, maybe I can, So
I definitely can.
yeah, for sure. I got you. Long story short, I started Rumbic and we've put on a couple of events. And this year we got hired to do other events for other people. And we're excited, and we're growing. But I don't really talk about Rumbic personally or on my social media because I feel like an imposter. It's like, dude, this guy owns an athletic events company, dude. Like, what? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the good part is that can be part of, maybe the start of your journey, and then you have your surgery next week. But I wasn't always in shape, but as I've gotten fitter, when I first met you, there would be people that would talk to me every shift and be like, what are you doing and how did this? And some people will just kind of find an excuse for everything. Well, I can't do this because I have that. But the one thing that I've done is, like I want my husband to always be attracted to me and I enjoy like working out and, vice versa. Like just because we are getting a little bit older, we're not over the hill yet, but close. And I just knew that I really enjoyed it. And then the one part that kind of was difficult for me that I didn't understand was the nutrition part of it. And then I had to get with a coach, a nutrition coach that kind of could explain things to me to understand it. But it's definitely, I still, like my treats, I'm still human. I still will eat out, but out here I did notice that there is a lot of there's fast food on every corner
Everywhere
here, and I feel like
just growing so fast.
It's growing so fast, and then where I come from, it's more mom and pop type of food, and so it's completely different.
Right.
But I definitely sometimes one girl said to me, "Well, I wouldn't want to look that way. I don't want to look muscular," and I was like, "Girl, no one told you to run out and do anything wild." But I want to do it for my kids and I want to set a good example, but I don't put pressure on them. Like you have to look a certain way or you have to be skinny or anything like that. I just want my daughter to be like, "Hey, my mom's in good shape. She can look up to me. I just want to be a good mentor for her too." But people ask me, and then when people start saying, "Oh, like the salon that I work in, there was a girl, she's 25 years old, and she said, she didn't tell me she was doing it, but she's like, I've been eating better for the past 2 weeks after picking your brain about just some things to like make me feel better because I'm young and I don't want to be overweight. And she's a very sweet girl, and she just kind of like came out of her shell a little bit. And it was almost like that brought that to the light. So, and just even inspiring her or asking me questions, it was like, oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
So it just feels good to also make people feel happy with their hair, and or if somebody asks me a nutrition or a gym question.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I want to get healthier, number one, for myself. Number two, for my family, And number three, I do feel that the weight has kept me from fully embracing my full potential, unconsciously, I'm a very confident person, but at the same time, obviously I'm human, and like, for example, just to give you an example, these 2 contracts that we just picked up, we went to the meeting, and they're like big organizations, so I walk in and they're like, okay, they shake my hand and
You're
stuff.
the guy.
But I'm the guy, but there's the initial like, oh, interesting,
It is crazy though how people are very judgmental, and some of the people that I didn't know about them before, but they were like, if you're disciplined, in your nutrition and going to the gym, or like it definitely keeps me more aware of just, it's not like the only focus of my life, but definitely
Right.
I don't skip it. I make it a little bit of a discipline. Like, I'm going to get there. I'm not going to make an excuse not to go, because if I'm competing, how can I be, if I'm off schedule, then that's excuses that I'm just giving.
Right.
So I know
Right.
that that's a little bit different level of like just fitnessing and life, but people are like, well, how can you have 3 kids? And then like, you manage to do this, or you must not have kids. And I'm like, no, I have 3. And and there's always opportunities to like eat bad. There's always opportunities to like, I don't feel like good. I don't feel like going. But then there's a lot of really nice people out there, and they'll be like, oh, I really enjoyed your class, and you make me feel good when I'm in class, and it makes me, and wanting to keep coming back every day.
Right.
So or the times that I coach, but
Yeah. Recently, in recent days, I'm pretty spread out. Like, I do a lot of things. Like I said, I'm a jack of all trades, a master of none. But recently I've been trying to hone it in, and I went to like a business conference in Vegas, and I learned a lot and stuff like that. And I came home and I was like, you know what? I told my wife, I feel like I would like to build my personal brand, WIFFY Real, whatever people are going to know me for. That I am my personal billboard, So not only do I need to like hone it in with everything that I'm doing, kind of consolidate it, bring it in together, but I also need to look the part, because if I'm going to inspire people, I need to look inspiring. And right now I don't, And so it does mess with your credibility a little bit, because people are going to go like, that guy's got like a food addiction or something. You know what I'm saying? So again, doing it for myself, because I'm tired of being fluffy, man. I remember the days
you
where
look
I
good
wasn't.
though. You're cute.
Thank you. But I remember those days when I wasn't, You know what's funny? Right now that you mentioned that, I remember the days where like I was young, doing my music, and
You had allergics.
not to toot my own horn, dude, but heads would turn, And I remember the day where heads stopped turning. You know what I'm saying? I always joke around with my wife with that. I'm like, dude, I remember the day when like, what happened, dude? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, all that to say that I'm on that journey. Like I said, not a super fan of the surgery, but I have a friend who just did it. He's a pastor in Surprise, actually, and he was fluffy like me. And he just, I went to go visit him the other day and turned it around, dude. Like, had the surgery, and he's a completely different person, to the point where he went from like 350 to weighing 185, And he's
Probably
like,
feels good.
yeah, he's like, you know what, man? What the surgery helped me to do was to lose the weight that I needed to lose to start moving, and getting in the gym. And then once I started seeing the results, then I got motivated. He's like, and I just, killed the extra weight, because he wasn't technically supposed to lose that much weight, but he went the extra mile,
Yeah.
honed in on the food and stuff like that, and training and stuff. So right now he's strength training, but all that to say that it was very inspiring, because I was like, man, I've looked at myself and I'm like, how was I that guy? And then I'm this guy. How could I go back to that? Not that I want to go back to that, but what I'm saying, like, how can my body shrink like that? But then I saw him and I was like, I guess it could happen, you know?
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend from Massachusetts. She had that surgery, and she has been extremely successful from it. She definitely has told me her ups and downs after the surgery, and just like how she managed. Because she would always say to me, "I'm the healthiest fat person that my doctor ever saw,"
Mm,
but she was like, "I needed to." Is a salon owner as well, and
mm,
she was like, "I just need to make better choices," and it really helped her. And now she's really like, she looks great. She's kept off the weight,
mm,
and it's really helped her. And I think that, some people might need a different path of getting there.
right.
But if you can get there and you can feel better and be there for your kids, and you're not worried about your health issues, like to get there is, there's options for a reason. So
Right.
just
Right.
being, when you get there, and you'll feel better. And as you lose that weight, she used to tell me, like, I just can't believe how much better I can just physically like move around. And like, then she really got motivated with going to the gym, because she was like,
Right.
at first she was like, I don't really want to go there because I was too intimidated from it. And
Mm.
then she started losing weight, and then it all of a sudden it just started motivating her like so quickly. And
It clicked, man.
I'm happy for her because it's worked out. For me, like, I have to just always kind of be aware of what I'm doing, because if I'm going to compete, I need to eat like I'm going to compete.
Right.
So, and it's, my dad ate like a serial killer when we were younger. My dad was like, he was pretty shredded. Um, but my parents, they ate pretty healthy, but like almost to a fault. Because then there was times where I was like, I don't live at home anymore now. I can have all the snacks that I want. And then I had my son. So like when I met my husband, I wasn't even really in that great of shape. He was in really good shape. And I was like, nah, I mean, I feel like I could, Then I started going to all his classes, and then I would do like all the weightlifting, and then he started teaching me about it. So I've learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
But then CrossFit came around, and I was like, no, this is definitely like my sport. And I still was so new to it. But then it takes years to kind of gain that knowledge. And I was around some really very fit people, like moms, dads,
Mm.
and gyms, and surrounded by some really cool owners and people that knew a lot. But the thing that I really like about the CrossFit aspect of it is there is so much camaraderie with the community, and that's what's important. It's not just about like, yes, you'll have your fire breathers and people that come in and they're a little crazy with like, but the percentage of people competing is much smaller than the mass. The mass of people, like, there's women that you think that would come in and be like, I wish I could look like you. And it's like, well, you can. And I'm honest with people. You have to, this is how I do it.
Right. This
And
is
you
the path.
yeah, but you have to just be that's my Boston accent. Yeah. I just like consistency,
Yeah.
and just really kind of staying to that. I don't want to say that 80-20, but a lot of it, you can't out train a bad diet.
Mm.
That's kind of something that I learned. I was just like, wow, I really have to like change the way that I'm eating if I want to see like if I want to trim down even like 10 pounds or something.
Right.
You really have to change the way you eat.
Right.
And it's very difficult because
Yes.
especially
Yes.
when you have kids, I eat the snacks.
Yeah, I would say that food became my comfort, man. Like my vice. Like when I was stressed or whatever, like that's what I reverted to, and yeah. But hey, so kind of winding it down here. I'm trying to think what direction we're gonna take this in. So one of the questions I always ask my guests so far, I always ask the question, and I have people here from all walks of life. So I ask it, you don't have to answer it, right? We can go to another topic, but like,
Oh no.
I always ask people, like, especially when we're talking about business, because usually I'll ask, like, how were you a leader in your business, right? Or I'll ask, like, how did you network, And then I'll ask one more question I forget, but the last question, and I intentionally leave that out of the questionnaire to kind of get people's response, genuine response, is like, do you believe in God? And if so, how do you incorporate that into your business? Now today we haven't really talked a lot about business, but like, do you believe in God, and what does that look like for you in your life?
Yeah, I do. I grew up Catholic. So, and then when we moved out here, it was very different, like just the way that they go about church here, I think. And it's the Christian non-denominational. So the Catholic is very like kind of a little bit more methodical, a little bit more robotic. But I didn't always understand like the word and like what the priest would be talking about. And I feel like a lot of people felt that way. It's not that I didn't like God. I felt like I didn't know the things that I should have known, even going to
Catechism.
the religious school, the religious classes, the
Yeah, catechism, I think. No?
okay. So I forget
Those classes.
Yeah, those ones. Like, and so I feel like I was kind of going through the motions. And then when I moved here, I actually felt like the churches that we started going to, that it was just different way of getting to know God. I think we was a little bit more eye opening. Like I actually understood, like when we would go to church, what they were saying in the relation to the Bible. And I would thank God every time that I got a blessing at the salon. I would just be like, I know this is going out on a limb here, but like, just please, like bless me with good people. I want to have faith. I want to believe that like this can work. And I truly believe no matter how hard moments got at that time, kind of waiting for clients or waiting for that to come through. So like the marketing, I was just like, who do I know in this industry that I can like navigate with, get ideas from. So there was this girl, Sarah, and her business partner, they used to work together. Sarah did makeup. The other girl, she did, her name was Callie. She worked for me, ended up working for me for a little bit. They were having like a bridal business. And I asked them, I said, like, how can I get the salon out there in the area? Even though I grew up here, like, how do you guys do it? And they just would go to everything. They would network in that area. They would do a lot of social media, even Instagram, Facebook, and that's how they would send people our way. Face group, it kind of there would always be like another avenue, like Facebook groups, and then they would create a Facebook group, and it was like all stylists that wanted to network for hair or makeup or bridal work. That's all they did was bridal work. But then the other way I would do it is in my corporate side of it. I was meeting salons all the time throughout the whole East Coast, so I was like paying attention to the way that salons would run their business, because I would have intimate conversations with them about how to build their business within the salon. Like they want to take it from, the base level, and they want to bring as much money in as possible, and how to like with the product that we had. So I used to sell color, and I used to sell the hair care products as well. So like how I would go in and I would do classes for them, and I would just pay attention to what they were doing with their stylists. How did they keep them motivated? How did they keep their clients happy? And what did they do? Like, how did they keep them in the salon? I kind of like studied that throughout the years before I actually owned the business. And then I would pick up things here and there. And there were people that I really enjoyed, and there were people that I was like, okay, I definitely won't do that. But I just kind of watched the way that salon owners would, navigate like product, stylists, running their front desk, like all the little things that I feel like were running their ship. When I would teach there, I would talk to their stylists and be like, what do you feel like you are missing or you need? Like I would figure it out along the way. And then I opened the salon. I had the right people. I feel like God kind of sent me some really good people. And there was a couple of, people that were weeded out. But I'm definitely a fan of women, owning their own business, being successful. If anybody wanted to move on and open a salon, I was a supporter. You can't be a hater, because people are going to do it whether they like you or they don't. So personally, I would even just with meeting those two girls, they were lifelines for me. They were like, okay, this avenue works, this doesn't. I just kept reaching out, and I kept trying to connect with people and meet people, even if it was at owners that owned other businesses in the town. How can I help you? If you do an event, will you help us? We'll do an event. Let's do a ribbon, like a ribbon cutting, anything that we could push the business. And one person said to me, you can't buy like reviews, like that stuff has to come organically. So we would really push that part of it too. Something as simple as that.
Right.
I didn't go to business school, but my dad owned a business, and other salon owners. I was always trying to learn something.
Right on. Right on. That's awesome, man. So that's very good insight on how to network and stuff like that, man.
I kind of just hustled. That's all I
Yeah,
did. I hustled
yeah.
out everything. Like,
Guerrilla networking.
yes.
Man.
And it was free to do that. So like I didn't have to, there was times that I spent money on the marketing and it didn't get anywhere. And then I actually were trying to talk to the right people and just be like, hey, if you know this person and that person. And then all of a sudden, like, we would get all these referrals. We would get all these people calling, this person called for you, because they were in a bridal business and we were the salon. So we were same industry, but two different things. So we could kind of bounce off each other. And
Right.
they were way ahead of me. They were way ahead of me. They were already a structured business and they were constantly putting up social media. And they did it right. So I hired one of the girls and I was like, I need you to help us. And that was a big help.
Cool. Hey, so how in conclusion, man, what are some things, you know, from your story and just your journey up until this point, man, that you feel like if I were to tell you, like, hey, tell just like the top 2-3 things, man, to the audience, specifically maybe our women that are listening in our audience, when it comes to just like the grit in life and then the business aspect, like what are some key things that you feel that those would be the top 3 that you would share to maybe exhort?
I think don't let anybody kind of shoot you down. Like push through everything and believe in yourself. And I do think you got to believe in God. I think he gives a lot of blessings in ways that you might not see, but you see it later and you're like, oh my goodness, or you might notice it up front. But keeping your head straight, if you want to do it, continue to do it. There'll be a lot of people that will slam the door. People thought I was crazy. Like, why would you open a business? Why would you do that now? You don't know anything about it. And I just had to believe in myself that I really could do it. Not to sound cliche, but I really was like, no, I'm really going to do this. And then I'm going to be successful from it. And I was. So I would say, God, keep chugging. Don't give up. Like, don't let anybody be like, well, that's not going to work. You can do it. There's a lot of free ways to do it now. There's so much more free ways to get your name out there just by social media alone. Before, we have to like work really hard to just get someone to come back in and be a client again. Now it's like a lot of stuff is free. So in the right people, you know, surrounding yourself, sometimes you have to cut ties along the way for people that will pull you back, that don't want to see you exceed. And you have to know when to cut that tie.
Very good. Very good.
Get off that elevator, you know? Yeah.
We stopping here, dog. Hey, last question for you, totally random, but you walked in and I told you, hey, can I pray? Because that's usually what I do with my guests. And it's been interesting because we started doing it. Like I said, everybody comes from different walks, right? But when I said that, you're like, yeah, I saw that coming. I was like, dude, did you see that in one of my other pods? And you're like, no, I just felt it. But what was it about it like that? Was it simply the hat, or did you feel a vibe, or what made you think that?
I feel like you just give off this really bubbly kind of guy. Like, I feel like you kind of elute like a white light. You know, have you ever heard of that? Like
Interesting.
some people they have like that kind of captivating personality, and you definitely have that, but in a positive way, which I liked it. And I think that's why I liked you and your wife. Shout out to her, hanging with the kids.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like, I don't know, it wasn't just the hat, but I saw that and I was like, oh, he's probably gonna say a little prayer, you know, but it's okay. I'm here for it.
That's so interesting, man.
But like, you're just a very
a
very like positive person. So I feel like people that pray and like really believe in God and like really have that like kind of fire, I feel like it kind of elutes off them. Like it like comes through their like aura and the way they talk to people. And because I definitely wouldn't talk to somebody that was, you know, a jerk or
right.
Or had like a different, I don't know, you're just all around kind of this guy is a positive guy. He's
Thank
nice,
you for saying that.
got a good laugh.
Yeah,
He looks like he says some prayers. I like this guy, you know?
Awesome.
He talks to God.
Man, I don't know if he's been listening lately. No, I'm kidding. He always does, man. But now, you know what? This conference that I went to, man, in Vegas. So it was a business conference, but half of it was a Christian business conference. So it was like half of it was spiritual and the other half was like the practical stuff, you know? But it really impacted me because, you know, some of the things they talked about there, I was like, man. And one of those things was like how to incorporate God in what you do, you know? And I do, I do believe in God, you know? One of the things, I'll just be honest, like, you know, I grew up in a Christian home, but the journey's been kind of a weird one. It's been ups and downs for sure, but at the core, you know, I can tell you that there is no doubt, you know, but how it looks on the outside, sometimes it's not as pretty. But going to that conference, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna incorporate him in everything that I do unapologetically, you know, and because if he ain't building it, I'm working in vain anyways, you know, and so
Amen.
yeah, so
Yeah, he's a good guy. You
yeah.
know, I feel like when I moved here and I really saw that other side of like going to church and the churches out here and meeting the people there too. It's just like there's other people that, you know, they might seem like they're a little crazy about it, but I was like, you know, that's the way they grew up. You can't take that light away from them just because it was more like a very structured environment. Because obviously, like the East Coast is really just more Catholic driven, and that it's just a different way of praising God. And then here I actually felt a little bit more relaxed. I felt like I understood the word. I would every week that I would go to church, I would look at my husband and be like, dang, like I needed to hear that this Sunday. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah.
Or like what they would, the sermon, whatever they'd be talking about. I'd be like, oh my God, that directly relates to my life right now. Which I think is just, you know, that's for a reason.
Yeah.
So I just, and I like having my kids being able to go and have their own time and learning on a level that's more understanding because it makes them want to be a part of it more. And at first, it was weird for me. I'm not going to lie. It was really weird. I was like, I don't really like got my hands up in the air and going wild. Like I probably won't do that. But I, for sure, after a while, and I kind of relaxed and I was listening and I turned on my listening ears. I was like, you know what? This is it. Like now I'm starting to understand. And then I just felt like every time that I made a better decision, things would start happening. Good, positive things. Like the first couple of years, I feel like being here the first year was really kind of hard. And then after that, meeting, going to church, kind of getting more involved, I feel like it was really he was like, okay, let me just bless this lady a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be praying for you, man. So 'cause it'd be awesome if you can start your business out here again.
I'm gonna pray for you for your surgery.
Yeah,
and I want you to, you know, be successful.
Yeah.
When I come back, maybe, you know, when you're like super big time and you're like,
is that you?
Yeah.
My youngest
I don't remember that lady on the show.
My youngest daughter was like, no, you're not gonna be my marshmallow anymore. She's like, I guess you're gonna be my churro now.
Oh my God, a churro. That is funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
Gotta love kids. They're honest as hell.
Yeah, seriously, man. Seriously. There's a joke. There's nothing more honest than a child and a pair of spandex or like the tight pants. You know what I'm saying? Like.
One time my daughter said something to me so loud and I just didn't know. I was like, oh my God, Vivian. She's like, Mom, how come you have a 6-pack and nobody else does? And I was like, Viv. And she said it so loud and like in front of everybody that was there. And I was like, everybody's going to think I'm like this, like, you know, crazy lady. But she just said it. And she was just like, you know, you always look so nice and you're always working out. And like, but she just said it so unapologetically. Like it was kind of, everyone just broke out and laughed.
You should have just answered, because I put in the work, baby.
Yeah. Well, I was like, you know, I'm like, well, I enjoy working out and I enjoy like eating good. I try to make it a part of my life. And so it was just funny because kids are just the funniest.
For sure. Leah, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on the WIFFY Real podcast. Before we leave, I would love for you to share with the audience like where they can find you for your business and stuff like that and what you do. Just tell the camera, man, where people can find you on social media and stuff like that, if you want to, of course. And then you can go ahead and do that plug.
Thank you. I appreciate you. So my hair salon page, my hair page is Leah Castro Stylist. Let me do that again. Leah Castro Stylist. That's one of my handles. And then the other handle is Stylist24. So one is kind of like my main page, and the other one is my hair page.
Awesome. And you're like located in the West Valley of Phoenix.
Correct. Yep. My salon is in Goodyear.
Right on. Right on. Awesome, guys. Well, there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching. If you watched this far, we appreciate you guys. I just want to let you guys know that soon, and very soon, we're going to be launching our first merch piece, our hat, the WIFFY's hat with the hoorah, because you guys know that here in the WIFFY Real podcast, we like to close it off by saying our chant, which is hoorah. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Hoorah.